the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Game reaction show. And the 49ers get another big win and start off the season 2-0, getting 2 road wins. And this one definitely had its ups and downs. It felt like a little bit of a roller coaster, that is for sure. But when you get down to the end and you've got to close out a football game, how nice is it to have a defense that can go get it done? And Robert Saleh's defense, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it just was frustrating, and I'm sure that he was frustrated. I'm sure the players are frustrated at times, but when it came down to it and you got to close out the game, the defensive line got it done, right? The drive before the last one, it's Nick Bosa that gets the sack on Spencer Rattler because of Mikael Williams. And how about Mikael Williams? He had himself a game today. I guess the thoughts of him being a bust were a little premature because he came out in a big way in this game. And then you look at what happened on that final play. You've got Bryce Huff, and I did think Bryce Huff was going to have an impact in this game. I had predicted he was going to have 2 sacks. Didn't get that. But he closes out the game. And what a pass rush that was against Fuaga. He absolutely smoked him around the outside. It was very, very nice to see. I'm glad to see all my guys in chat. What's up, Josh? How's it going? Josh is in the house. Joel as well. How's it going, Joel? And, we start 2-0 on the road games, and it's huge for the 49ers. What's up to Randy, who's in chat? Everybody keep leaving your stuff in chat. What's up to Ryan? How's it going, my guy? And, it's a good time to be a 49er fan right now because they're finding ways to win. And, the conversations this week were kind of interesting. I did think that there was going to be maybe a step back in the 49ers offensive output with Mac Jones taking over for Brock Purdy. And, I did think they were still going to score 20 points, but if you would have told me that he was going to throw for 3 touchdowns, I wouldn't have seen that on my bingo card. I thought maybe, I predicted 1, maybe 2. I thought that, they would rely on the running game a lot. But when it came down to it, the 49ers needed Mac Jones to produce the way that he produced. And this is what we said when they signed him during the offseason. It's a quarterback that gives us a chance to win, right? Mac Jones gives the 49ers a chance to win. It's not always going to be pretty. It's definitely different than Brock Purdy, but it's a guy that operates within the offense. This is why Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were so excited to get Mac Jones here in San Francisco as a backup quarterback because they knew if something, heaven forbid, happened to Brock Purdy like it has, you have a guy that's capable. I mean, he was a 15th overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft. He's a talented individual that's played in a lot of big games. So it's huge. And, we got some stuff here in the chat I want to make sure we stick, with. Is Joel says a lot of injuries again, though. It's true. The good news is some guys, right? Kyle Juszczyk, it was a concussion. We don't know exactly what that means for next week, but it's not anything season ending. Ben Bartch is dealing with an ankle. We don't know what that's going to be. But Ryan brings this up. Kobe starting left guard moving forward. Now, I really want to look more at the film when we get to the All-22 to highlight Connor Kobe. But I would have to say he did a pretty good job from what I saw. I felt like the 49ers offensive line, minus the first quarter of this game, I thought played pretty darn good in pass protection and giving Mac Jones the ability. And I thought Kyle Shanahan did a good job of mixing in running backs and tight ends to help. I thought that they did a very good job of making sure they gave Mac Jones good, clean pockets that he could step up in. And I thought Connor Kobe did a pretty good job. And, this is one of those things you got to love is when a rookie steps up and overplays, right? We were all saying 49ers need to draft an offensive lineman. We weren't wrong about drafting an offensive lineman early, right? You want to keep building your team. But I think getting Connor Kobe in the 7th round once again proves that Chris Foerster does a pretty good job when it comes to continuing to elevate these players. And so I thought that it worked out really well. And how's it going, Lou? Lou's in the chat. He said, Ant, hashtag TCC, go San Francisco. I think it's an exciting time. And how about this right here from Lou? Can we now forget about Bart's the Glass Man experiment? I don't know if they're going to forget about him. I think it's really it's not fun the fact that Ben Barch got hurt again. I mean, but this is something that we've seen. The play that he got hurt in this game is eerily similar to the play he got hurt last season. And I think that last year he played 1.5 games as a starter and he got hurt. This year it's not even quite 1.5 games, and I think that I don't know what's up with Barch. I don't know why he comes into these unfortunate events. But the good news is they have players. Connor Kobe stepped up in a big way in this game. He was prepared, ready for the moment. And then I think you look at also they still had Matt Hennessy. He was active for this game. They still had Spencer Burford. I think we also got to look at the fact that Trent Williams, he was back and he tested out that knee and it went. I think this offensive line did a pretty good job. So very excited about the O-line. And how about Randy says 2 40-yard field goals? And I'm sure everyone was struggling when Eddie Pinheiro missed his opening extra point. And you know what? I did feel right away. I said out loud, I was watching the game with family, and I said, I think Eddie Pinheiro is not going to miss again. And not only did he not miss, he pretty much kicked every single field goal right down the middle after that. So we'll give you one, Eddie Pinheiro. You got one, but I thought that it was nice to have a field goal kicker like you felt that you could count on in this game. And I thought Eddie Pinheiro really provided that. I think Kyle Shanahan knew if he got within 50 yards, if it was a field goal 50 and in, a lot like Robbie Gould, that is pretty much money. This coming from Tomas, he says, greetings from Copenhagen, Denmark, where we had a great watch party. That's awesome. The fact that you guys had a huge watch party, those are a lot of fun. And greetings. I hope you're having a good time in Copenhagen. And it was a fun time to watch the game. And Reese says, hashtag TCC. Thank you so much for that. Lori in the chat says, hey, Ant. Hey, how's it going? I think that it's a good time to be a 49er fan right now. Reese says, Ant, what did you think of the front seven? The Rooks and Williams had a game. Yeah, they did. I do want to get into a little bit of, some of the stats, some of the things that were going on when you look at this football team. And why not start with that front seven and look at some of the things they were able to do because they were active. And one of the complaints last week was that the 49ers rookies weren't filling up the stat sheet. Well, guess what? They filled it up in this game. Mikael Williams had 5 tackles, 4 solo tackles, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. I'm sorry, reading the wrong one. He had no sacks, but he did have 2 tackles for loss. It was Upton Stout who got the first rookie sack of the season with the blitz off the edge. I thought that they really played good. Mikael Williams looked good. I thought that Alfred Collins also was way better in this game. I saw Alfred Collins get a hit on Spencer Rattler in this game. I thought he was active. It was good to see that front for the 49ers defense really make some plays. Kalia Davis had a huge tackle for loss on Alvin Kamara late in the game. It was a good performance. Mikael Williams showed some things. I was getting texts during games. Lots of people talking positive about Mikael Williams, including Horst. We do a show over on Patreon, and he was talking about it. And so it was good. And so, Lori says visiting Amsterdam and had a watch party. So there you go. Watch parties all over watching the San Francisco 49ers. I absolutely love that. Daryl says, huge road win for us, Ant. It was very big. And Rob D says what we always think. Imagine if we were healthy, right? If we were healthy, 49ers team was healthy, they would be making some plays. And Thomas says, your thoughts on Upton Stout? Seems like he made a lot of plays, but also had some misses. This is the rookie portion of playing football, right? You're going to have big plays. You're going to have misses. And you live with it. Now, I don't believe Upton Stout had a penalty. I don't think that was actually a penalty. That's good coverage. As a coach, I hope they walk up to him and they say, you do that every single time because that's good coverage. But yes, I think that there was some times, right? The one with Spencer Rattler on the 4th down play, Upton Stout was trying to split the difference. He was trying to stop Spencer Rattler and cut him off and also guard Alvin Kamara at the same time. And he got caught in between. And you got to be decisive. You can't get caught in between. So that was definitely something that I think stunk for him because he got juked and Rattler got a big 4th down conversion. But I thought that Upton Stout continues to show some of the things we really like. The run fits were there. He had the blitz where he got the sack. I thought that was really nice. So yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff, from Upton Stout. So there's good, there's bad from Upton Stout, but it's growth, right? How are you going to continue to grow? I love the fact that, he came in for that last drive, which means when he stayed down, he was hurt. He worked his way back in, showing the toughness of a young player. And I think him, Marcus Siegel, Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West, these guys are getting huge snaps early in the season, meaningful snaps in critical situations, and they're expected to perform, and they're doing a pretty good job. So I think moving forward, what's it going to be 5-6 weeks from now? I think that is a really good thing for this football team that they got a chance. And, this is what Ryan says. Upton got screwed on that third down penalty. Yeah, I think that was a tough one. I don't think that was a penalty. I don't really particularly like the Marquise Siegel penalty either. There's plenty of other penalties that were 100% legit. I thought they were a little ticky-tack on the 49ers rookies. But overall, I thought that, for the most part, the refereeing was, basically what you expect from NFL refereeing. I'm not going to complain too much, but I thought those were really tough. And Lori says Warner and Winters were fire. Well, Fred Warner had 11 tackles, 7 of them solo, a tackle for loss, a pass defensed, and a fumble caused and recovered. And I have to say this about Fred Warner. How many linebackers in the NFL are covering your number one tight end one-on-one in man coverage on 3rd down and 2 and making a play like that? It's a trick question. There's nobody else. It's Fred Warner. That's it. Just Fred. That's how good that guy is. That play was absolutely fantastic. From the way he dropped, to the way he covered, to the reach, the technique. Fred Warner is just different. There's nobody like this guy. I absolutely love that play. And, to the other part of this, right, D. Winters, he was flying around. Now, did he make every tackle? No. Did he have a couple here and there where he got knocked off by Yetur Gross-Matos, right? Him and Diamond Lenore didn't quite get Kamara down once. But this guy, make no mistake, is flying around, and he is an eraser. How many linebackers can cover Alvin Kamara? 49ers got 2 of the best cover linebackers in the entire league. It's just that plain and simple. These dudes are legit. They're different. D. Winters with his speed, Fred with his intelligence. It was so good. I thought that it was fun to watch. And Tommy says, hey, Ant, we made Rattler look like Montana. I think that Spencer Rattler, he did have a good game. I don't think that he looked like Joe Montana. I do, however, think that he was allowed to have a lot of easy throws underneath. And this is something that we kind of talked about during the week, is you wanted to see if Spencer Rattler could consistently make all those throws. And we saw that early portion of this game that the tight ends, the wide receivers, they were putting the ball on the ground. They weren't making those completions. They were looking around. I mean, Chris Olave made a business decision going over the middle of the field on a 3rd down play where the ball hits him in the hip, and D. Winters and Fred Warner on each side of him. Make no mistake, that's a business decision. So I understand the methodology. Hey, let's let these guys try to complete high percentage throws underneath and prove that they can. I thought that he did get in a rhythm when they got this offense clicking was when they went pretty much no huddle, and just kind of operate at the line of scrimmage, and it did get Spencer Rattler in a rhythm. But to say that he looked like Montana, I think might be a little stretch, Tommy. I get where you're going at with this, but I thought that he was effective in this game. But when you look at the stat line, he was 25 of 34 for 206. In the end, they end up coming up with 3 sacks. I think that they did let him do a little bit more than they should have, but I don't think it's bad either, because I think that was part of the game plan, is let's see what this guy can go out and actually provide and produce. So I get it, though. I get the understanding of what's going on. And Lou says this, Green is the guy who concerns me. Too many mistakes, Ant. Yeah, I think that, Green gave up some catches today, and I think that it's a tough matchup. So one of the things about Renardo Green, he is athletic, he is fast, is when you are dealing with wide receivers like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks, you not only have to deal with the fact that they're excellent route runners, you have to deal with the fact that they all have speed. They can all run. And Renardo Green last week got beat on a deep vertical on a double move, and he doesn't want to get beat deep again. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to keep things underneath. So I think he was giving a little bit more cushion. I think it also played into the game plan. Do I think that they want him to play a lot tighter in coverage? Yes. Does he need to play better in the future? Yes. So I do believe that this is going to be a point of emphasis for teams that play the 49ers to test Renardo Green, because De'Amar Lenore is really good. And, so they're going to go after Upton Stout, and they're going to go after Renardo Green. And I thought Green had some struggles today. He slipped down a little bit. He did get, beat a little bit, gave a little bit too much cushion. So, yeah, I think that he made some mistakes. And I think that those are going to have to be corrected. So I do agree, with your statement that Renardo Green had some mistakes. I don't know if there was too many mistakes, but there was some. But the one thing that's really tough when you're going against, a team like this is it's tough with coverage. I mean, and it's not like any of the New Orleans Saints receivers went off. And we talked about their ability. Chris Olave had 6 catches for 53 yards, under a 10-yard average at 8.8. Rashid Shaheed had the big, long play, right, for 39 yards. Other than that, he had 3 catches for 13 besides that one explosive. And that's why Renardo Green was worried about getting beat deep. He wanted to not allow explosive plays. Make Spencer Rattler win underneath, and Spencer Rattler did a pretty good job in this game. But, this was the method to the 49ers madness about winning it. That was what they tried to do. They kept Cooks to just 2 catches for 26 yards. Jawan Johnson, who had a huge game last week with 9 catches, had 5 catches in this game. Overall, when you walk away from this game and, you gave up, I think the biggest concerning part is the fact that they were able to be so successful in the red zone. When you look at the stats in the red zone, I think that's where the 49ers, definitely want to get better. They allowed them to go 3 for 3 in the red zone. That is not what the 49ers did last week. The 49ers held the opposing team to 33%. And last week, the New Orleans Saints only scored touchdowns at a 25% rate. So them going 3 for 3 is the big troublesome number, right? You wanted to be able to allow them to, you wanted to bend, but don't break. 49ers broke a little bit in red zone defense. That's going to be a point of emphasis this week for Robert Saleh's defense. Now, the good news is the 49ers were 100% in the red zone too. They were 2 for 2 in the red zone. So I think when you're looking at it, luckily, Mac Jones and his 49ers offense was successful enough to make up for some of the defense's struggles in this game. And the thing is, we kind of knew, right? I mean, I think when we've been talking about 49ers rookies and there was going to be a learning curve and young players, Renardo Green's only in year 2. There was going to be mistakes here and there. There was going to be plays and drives extended because of mistakes, and you got to live with it. And I think that that's kind of what the 49ers are doing now. But the key is, can you live with it and still win games? And 100% the 49ers are proving that right now when you look at the stats. So 49ers did get after Spencer Rattler as well. They had 3 sacks for 21 yards. I thought that they consistently put pressure on him. I thought that Spencer Rattler held his composure. But, I thought that, the game plan came through. 49ers give up 100 rushing yards to Alvin Kamara. I don't think they'll be happy about that. But I think they will be happy with the fact they're walking away, with a big win in this game. You look at it, 49ers got more first downs, 23 to 21. They were, had less penalties, just 5. They had their third down conversion rate, 49ers again, over 50%. That's huge for this offense, continuing last week over 50. They were at 50%. This week, they were even better, 8 of 15. And then the 2 of 2 in the red zone. They won the time of possession just barely. But overall, I think that that's the things when you look at it, what the 49ers want to be able to walk away, with a win in this game. And I think that that's highly important. Reese says, and do you think Kyle plays Mac next week against Arizona? I think it all comes down to Brock Purdy. I do believe that Mac Jones' effectiveness this week makes it so Brock Purdy, if he feels he's not comfortable, or they're not going to overdo it, right? They're not going to push him to the point of he could re-injure himself if that's the case. So I think it gives the 49ers a little leeway if they want to decide. But next week's still a big game. It's a divisional matchup. And if you can start the season 2-0 with a win over Seattle in week 1 and then a win over Arizona in week 3, I think you got to feel very comfortable with where you sit. You got the Rams a couple weeks after that. you need to win divisional games. So there's going to be a push for Brock Purdy to come back. I just think that if for some reason it's up in the air, and Brock's not quite there, and that's the reports right now, right? Adam Schefter saying it's going to be a close call. If it is a close call, you can go with Mac. I think he proved that the offense can be effective. It's different. It's probably, it's a lot different, the way that he has to win, the way that Kyle has to call the offense. But you lost a big piece in Jawan Jennings. And the good news was, I'm sorry, you lost a big piece in Kyle Juszczyk. But guys like Jawan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne, they stepped up. Jake Tunges continued to make plays. And how about Luke Farrell, right? What a great play that was. Catching the touchdown pass was a great call by Kyle Shanahan. He gets all the tight ends on the field, play action fake, gets Mac Jones out of the pocket. And you got to love those concepts where you get the levels concept. You had 3 guys out there in the flood. More than one guy's open. Farrell makes a guy miss. Alontae Taylor goes in the end zone for a touchdown. I thought it was huge. So I don't know if it's going to be Mac next week. I think it all hinges on Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy's able to go, you play Brock Purdy. If not, you go Mac Jones. What's up, Callie? How's it going? Welcome to the show. And, I think that this is just how the offense is going to have to roll with Mac Jones. It's subtle differences. He doesn't extend plays. He did have one scramble, that was successful. Ryan says the more tape that we have to study every week, the better we will be. First week against Seattle, we basically played against our own offense and a similar defense. That is a fact. I mean, the offense was extremely familiar. I mean, literally that, right? 2 weeks in a row, 4 years have coached against a coach that was in their building within the last 2 years. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for Seattle. And then, of course, this week, Brandon Staley, who knows Kyle Shanahan really well from his time with the Chargers, of course, but also the Rams being with Sean McVay. So there's that for sure. So, yeah. And, Hugo's asked this, and I think this is a good question. Robinson is looking pedestrian. Why? I think that Brian Robinson is still figuring out this offense. So one of the things that's difficult that Christian McCaffrey talked about when he came in as 2022 was how much he had to adjust his running style to the 49ers system. So when you play in a zone scheme, they're not all created equal. There are different landmarks, there's different lines, there's different techniques for everything you do. And coming into the 49ers team and the way that they run things, they do things differently. Offensive linemen have to adjust, tight ends have to adjust, wide receivers, but most importantly, running backs. And I think you're seeing that learning curve for Brian Robinson. So right now, there's not a really good feel for how he's doing things, but I expect as he gets more comfortable within this offense for it to pick up. I still don't think you're going to see the explosives that we're used to seeing with Christian McCaffrey or, even Jordan Mason or Isaac Rendo. That's not what he does. His explosives are 12 to 15-yard runs, or in some cases 20. But I think that he's going to get better the more comfortable he gets within this offense. So that's going to be huge. And what's up to my guy, David Morazzo? He says, what's up, Ant? Another dub. And that's exactly what it's so big, is getting that dub and getting the win. So it was nice. You got to just continue to win these games that you have the opportunity to win. And let's not forget, last year, 49ers lost these games. This year, these guys are winning these games, and you're having key young players step up and make plays for it. And, I saw this in chat. Charlie says, I got my stats wrong, 3 total sacks today. And that was the thing. Like, I thought that this game was going to go under. I thought the 49ers were going to win 20-17. FanDuel had this at 40.5, and that didn't happen. They went over. Mac Jones and Spencer Rattler both had 3 touchdowns, career highs in this game. Like they were making plays on offense. That was a little bit different than what people were expecting. I saw people, predicting even a 13-10, game. And thank you so much for the new subscription. I really appreciate it. And you didn't see that low scoring. It was kind of it was a fun game. It was frustrating and fun, and in the end, the 49ers defense closes out. But, you had that. Then, FanDuel had this. 49ers definitely covered. I got that right. So thank you so much for FanDuel helping me, predict this one. I got this right. So, yeah, I think that this was a really fun game for the 49ers. There was a lot of positives that come out of it. Of course, we have the concerns. Ben Barch is hurt. I think a lot of people are excited about Connor Kobe. I know I was excited that he played so well. because I had some question marks, about what it was going to look like when he got in this offense. But, I thought that he did a pretty good job. And this is just what we need to do. And I think that if there was a couple of concerns we need to remember is right now, the offense, we weren't running the ball well, but Brandon Staley came out with heavy offensive line, heavy boxes. He put the onus on Mac Jones. And why wouldn't you make Mac Jones prove that he could win the game? And I thought that was really smart to do. And I thought that maybe he was going to have to kind of loosen him up, and that's what happened. But it wasn't as successful. And I think Kyle Juszczyk definitely, hurts the 49ers' effectiveness running the ball when he's out. And Ryan says, Ant, how are you feeling about the backup tight ends? Feeling pretty good about him, actually. And I would say this, Braden Willis would have had a catch in this game. He was tight end 3 if Mac Jones would have led him to the sideline. He kind of, led him more upfield, and that ball was dangerously led upfield. But I thought that the tight ends have done a pretty good job. My question marks are still some of the effectiveness blocking, because George Kittle's so good at blocking. And I thought that there were a couple of plays in this game that I saw once again. Jake Tunges had the huge holding call, that really cut back a run from Brian Robinson that was going to keep that momentum of the run game going. That was huge. But you see some of the inconsistencies in the blocking, and you want more consistency. But we're seeing those guys making plays. And ultimately, that's what you have to ask from your guys who are going to be second, third string, and now stepping up into that first and second string spot is just consistency. And I think that they're working towards that. And Farrell made a couple plays. Jake Tunges continued to make some plays. They're designing plays for these guys. So overall, I thought that I feel pretty comfortable with the backup tight ends right now. And that's all you can ask for, is these guys to step up. And that's what we're seeing from the 49ers. They have the mantra, right? The mantra is always next man up. And I think this team really believes it. But I think the difference is next man up is a great theory, but you have to have guys that can produce when they do step up. And the 49ers are getting that, right? I mean, every time you get somebody that steps in, especially on offense right now, you had Mac Jones, who had a 3-touchdown game. I thought he did a really good job. Farrell and Jake Tunges, they had pretty good games at tight end. They were effective. You had Kendrick Bourne step in, and he started making some plays, in when he needed to step up. We have a legit third wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall continues to be just consistent, right? He's been good. Jawan Jennings was great in this game. Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Kendrick Bourne, you could feel it. And we're just a couple of weeks away from Demarcus Robinson coming back too. This wide receiver room is going in a positive direction. So I'm really enjoying the fact that these guys are kind of working their way back in. And Reese says this, defense needs to tighten up though. There was a drive where we gave up 3 first downs on third down penalties. Clean it up, Robert. I do think that is going to be a point of emphasis. I think that was probably the most frustrating drive of the game, right? You had the third down conversion, because of Upton Stout getting called for legal contact. You had Marquise Siegel getting called for holding. Those were first down conversions. I think those were probably frustrating, but those are also not conversions, through plays that you just are going to work on this stuff about your hand placement, which referees you're working against, that kind of thing. And Hugo says this, hopefully Levi's will be rocking next week. I'm looking into the ticks now. It's going to be, it's going to be loud. This team is looking to play the Arizona Cardinals next week. Arizona was able to beat New Orleans in week 1. And, we know what they're about. They're a really good team in Arizona. Anytime you have situation where you're going to be going against, a team that knows you pretty well, it's going to be like that. But the good news was the 49ers were able to create a turnover in this game, able to capitalize off the turnover. You had Mac Jones doing the things that he needed to do. Bryce Huff got the closing sack. You had rookies that continued to step up. And, Mac Jones went 26 of 39 in this game. He had 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he was sacked 3 times for 12 yards. And some of those sacks were him holding on the football. I got to keep it honest. I don't know how much of them on the offensive line. The one strip sack, that was probably frustrating. Colt McKivitz had his guy on the ground. The guy lost his feet, Rumpf, and Rumpf is able to get up and get the strip sack. That one was pretty frustrating. But I thought overall, Mac Jones played really, really good. And that's 13 incompletions is not a bad game at all. That's effective. He had 113.1 ratio in this game, or a quarterback rating. I thought that was good. You look at the 49ers run game, McCaffrey was back up. I thought he had some really good carries in this game. He was back up to a 4.2 average, per attempt. They kept him to just 13 carries, which is a good number. Brian Robinson had 6 carries for 20, only 3.3 average. So what we were talking about earlier, he needs to get more accustomed to this offense. But when you look at the stats of the 49ers wide receivers and Christian McCaffrey, who has been very effective in the passing game, Juwan Jennings had 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. The 42-yard touchdown was a big play in this game. It's the difference in this game. But he had 89 yards and 17.8 average. So he was making plays. Pearsall, 4 for 56, 14-yard average. Christian McCaffrey, 6 catches for 52 yards. And they weren't just checkdowns for McCaffrey in this one. This was him beating linebackers down the field for clutch first downs. 6 catches on 7 targets, extremely effective offense. Kendrick Bourne in his first game in San Francisco, 3 catches for 32 yards, over a 10-yard average. Jake Tunges filling in, 4 catches, 31 yards. Luke Farrell, 2 catches, 15 yards. You can just see it's an effective offense, but also all the way down the board, right? You have guys that are just willing to make plays, and guys that are open and getting the ball. So offensively, you love to see it. You love to see guys making plays. The special teams, besides the extra point, had 1 punt return that gave up the outside. But I thought that the special teams played way better in this game. The good news, Saran Neal stayed down, but he was okay. He came back into the game. That's huge. And then on defense, you're the guys you're expecting to step up and make plays. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, they did it. The young guys you needed to step up, D. Winters, Upton Stout, Mikael Williams, they played well. And I'll say this, I know that Juwan Johnson scored that big touchdown on Marquise Siegel. I will say Marquise Siegel was in his hip pocket. That is one of the things I did like about this game, is even when the Saints had those touchdowns, it was tight coverage. The 49ers weren't giving anything away. They made Juwan Johnson go up and make a great play. Siegel was right there. The touchdown on Jason Pennick. Pennick is right there. I mean, the guy got a good look, but that was a really nice play. He just didn't finish. But I thought that they were in the right positions. And I thought even Jair Brown, when he got in the game, he was able to knock away a football. So overall, I thought it was impressive to see, the things that they were able to do. And I got to give credit to my guy Tatum Bethune for absolutely lighting up, Miller when it came to the punt or the kick return. That was a really nice play that he made. So yeah, 49ers made some plays in this game. I thought some guys really stood out, and this is what you have to do. You have to win games, and tough games. They're not all going to be pretty. They're not all going to be easy. But when you get down to it, you just come find a way to win. And I thought that's what they did in this game. I thought they really figured out a way to win. And it was with Mac Jones at quarterback. It was with young players on defense stepping up. It was with new guys like Kendrick Bourne and, making plays as a receiver. Jake Tunges continuing to step up, him and Luke Farrell. That's exactly how you have to have it. You have to have these guys make plays. And I thought that there's a different feel to this 49ers 2025 team than there was last year. So big time stuff. And we're going to be talking content all week long about 49ers, prepare for Arizona, but a lot about this game as well. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating if you think I deserve it. This episode was brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.